Okay, here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, 1, action.
Assume nothing.
Brash, bald-faced blasphemy.
Question everything.
I find it extremely hard to imagine.
Open your eyes.
It is quite all right to be an atheist.
The fastest growing group of people in the country has been measured as being those who have no belief or who are atheists.
You don't have to be apologetic or quiet about it.
Challenge the opposition.
You see religion on 100 fronts losing the argument.
And start thinking. This is The Thinking Atheist Worldwide.
Our broadcast today brought to you by NatureBox. NatureBox ships tasty and guilt-free snacks right to your door with over 100 flavors to choose from, like Greek yogurt pretzels, coffee kettle popcorn, and more. You'll never get bored of snacking again. Try NatureBox for free. Go to naturebox.com/thinkingatheist. That's naturebox.com/thinkingatheist. About 10 minutes before I started the broadcast, I'm sitting here doing my final prep, and I hear this. And yes, it's a fly, but it's the biggest freaking fly I've seen in a long time. So it's out the door. It went out the door of my office. It's somewhere, but it keeps kind of coming back in at the worst times. I have a fly swatter right here. And so it's highly likely sometime during the broadcast tonight, probably during a very poignant moment, you're going to hear me just just wail on some fly. Oh, what a weird week. It's been a weird week. By the way, thank you for all the birthday wishes. Birthday was on the 12th, 47 years old. And I spent it with just a few people in my life who I enjoy the most. And we went out and had a nice dinner. And they're like, how's it feel to get older? Well, I don't know. I look in the mirror, I see the same guy. But it's a weird feeling when you start thinking about the fact that you are aging. You are approaching the big 50, but I'm happy. I'm doing what I love. I'm with the people I love. I've got no complaints whatsoever. But it's been weird. It's been a little weird. I had this weird dream wasn't last night. It was the night before. I'd told Natalie about it, and she was just laughing her ass off. She thought I was hysterical. But this is the kind of stuff that has been going on in my mind. I had this dream that I was going to church. We as a couple were going to church. Now, I don't know if it was an Easter Sunday thing or not. I didn't have any context to the attendance, but I was visiting a church, and we were visiting Matt Dillahunty is calling my cell phone while I'm doing the radio show. I'm doing the show, man. Okay. I told you it's been a weird week. I just finished posting the 3 Unholy Trinity Down Under speeches to YouTube, and our Patreon supporters get those speeches early. And so I just put them up. He's probably calling me with a technical question or something. So I make that note that I will call him back as soon as the show is over. Anyway, I had this dream that we were going to church, and we walked into the lobby. And we looked through the double doors that look into the auditorium, into the sanctuary. And the pastor wasn't speaking from a podium. He wasn't speaking from a stage. There was this long platform way, 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 way above everybody's heads, almost like a catwalk that you would see people up there with spotlights and stuff. It's this catwalk that had been rigged all the way across the top of the auditorium. So people were sitting in these pews, and they were looking way up high, their chins way up, just to be able to see the guy who was near a very, very, very tall ceiling, right near the top. So I'm looking in, and I'm thinking, wow, that's different. That's really interesting. I wonder why they did that. And then I noticed that every other row in the auditorium, in the church, in every other row, that people sitting there were not wearing pants. Now stick with me. They have underwear on, but they don't have any pants. Now we're visitors, and we are about to be seated by these ushers who are going to determine which row we end up in. And the whole time I'm standing near the door, and I think I was saying it audibly out loud. Let it be pants. Let it be pants. Please let us end up on a pants row. I don't want to be naked. And I woke up. I have no idea where we ended up. Of course, I told that story and everybody thought it was hysterical. What did you eat before bedtime, Seth? What's wrong with you? Your mind's starting to go away now that you're getting old. So anyway, I just thought that was a funny story. And because that's the kind of thing you share with friends, I figured I'd share it with you. Another way it's been a weird week is the computer's been acting bizarre again. I came in here the other day and it had replaced all the text on my desktop, all the text everywhere on my computer with symbols. These weird, funky symbols that I guess they're a font. So I finally find my way to the fonts folder. Took a while. And all my fonts had been replaced except for these symbols. So I don't know if it's a virus or something. So I'm on the phone with tech support. You know how hard it is to try to fix a problem on your computer when you can't read anything on your computer? Go to this folder. I have no idea how to get to the folder. It's all a bunch of symbols. They're all a bunch of pictures of, there's triangles and circles and this and that. And there's a little house with a goat in it or something, So I just spent like 90 minutes on the phone with tech support, which is its own private hell. I mean, the guy was fine. But yeah, I could tell he was punching the clock. And finally got to the point where it's all work. All the stars have aligned in time for the show tonight. But it's just been weird. And I'm a little frustrated. I don't know if you've been following the release of the book that I've got coming out this month. Supposedly it was coming out this month. It's called Sacred Cows, a lighthearted look at belief and tradition around the world. There's these final tweaks that I'm making to the book. Just stupid stuff, small stuff. I mean, the book's been 99.9998% done since probably February, right? But there's these tiny tweaks that I just have to get them fixed or they will drive me crazy. And they're taking forever. The publisher wants to do this, and they take another week to give me the next proof, and they want to do that. And so I'm looking at June. If you've pre-ordered Sacred Cows, hang in there, okay? Looks like we are going to release and ship in June instead of April. My apologies. If that is a problem for you and you have pre-ordered, send me an email to podcast@thethinkingatheist.com and tell me it's about Sacred Cows. Tell me you want a refund. I'll just give you your money back. You've been more than patient. And the good news is somebody who's been interested in pre-ordering and getting an autographed copy, you now have a little more time because we're all in a holding pattern. You can go to sacredcowsbook.com to do a pre-order there. And again, I'm thinking they're going to ship in June. I didn't have any of this trouble with Deconverted. And I'm not sure if it's because of the illustrations or what, but it's just been one of those things where I'm this close to the finish line. I can see it. I can taste it, man. I'm there. And I can't quite get over the finish line. So your patience is much appreciated. Give me 8 more weeks. We will get you there. Tonight's broadcast is kind of a potpourri of whatever it is you want to talk about. Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by my friends over at Nature Box. We all do it. Well, almost all of us do it. We get hungry between breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we grab a snack. And many times after we experience the snack, we experience the guilt. Nature Box is providing a better snack solution because we can choose from a huge online gallery of snack options, over 100 healthy snacks, and we can enjoy them without all the guilt, without the artificial flavors, colors, or sweeteners, without the trans fats, without the high fructose corn syrup, and with the good taste that really does satisfy. Stuff like pistachio power clusters and honey Dijon pretzels, guacamole bites, mango orange fruit chews. So many choices with which to fill your online pantry, and Nature Box snacks are delivered right to your front door. Right now, if you go to naturebox.com/thinkingatheist, you can get a free trial of their favorite snacks so you can see what so many out there are talking about. Log on and get started tonight. naturebox.com/thinkingatheist. And we'll go right to the switchboard and talk to area code 773. You're on the Thinking Atheist radio podcast. Who's this?
Hi, this is Michael.
Michael, thanks for calling the broadcast. What's going on?
Well, I thought I might share a facepalm moment with you. I had shared this with Matt Dillahunty and Tracy Harris a while back on their show, but I thought maybe you would have some more experience to help me explain it. Years ago, I was married, and I'm no longer married now, but I was married to a religious person, a Christian. And when we were getting ready to get married, we went to some pre-marriage counseling with her pastor. And her pastor said to me, how committed are you to this marriage? And I said, well, I'm committed to this marriage for life. And then sort of as an afterthought, I said, well, and after that too, because, I'll be dead and I'll never marry anybody else. So, forever. And he looked at me really puzzled and he said, well, that's not how it works. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, when you go to heaven, you're not with your spouse. You're with your family. And I had never heard anything like that before, so I was really confused and tried to think about it, of course, later. And, I realized that if that was true, then if everybody was with their family but not with their spouse, everybody's spouse is part of somebody else's family, right? So if someone is with their family, then they're not with their spouse, then no one is with their parents, and everybody is just orphans in heaven together. So I've never heard this before, and when I asked Matt and Tracy about it, they were just shocked, and they had never heard of it before. Have you ever heard anything like that before?
They always dodged the soulmate question when it came to heaven. Your soulmates on earth, you're to be married forever or for the rest of your earthly lives. But as I understood it, once you died, everybody sort of became the bride of Christ, meaning that there wasn't a marriage between two people necessarily. I don't know that there was any sex or, it was like we all went to a happy place where everybody was asexual and we didn't need anything but to sit around with our little palm leaves fanning Jesus and singing our praises to him kind of a thing, Yeah,
and the thing that confused me so much was how could a person be with their families when isn't the spouse, the parents, part of the family? And if they're not with their spouse, then they're like with their brother and sister, but they're not with their parents because their parents are with their brothers and sisters. And, I didn't think that heaven was, like I said to Matt, I didn't think it was like a gated community where you can't go into certain areas or see certain people or anything. But I just wonder how a person gets to the point where something like that comes out of their mouth as if it's a fact when, as far as I know, that's not in the Bible or anything.
Well, that happens all the time, right? You get the same thing when people ask if your pets go to heaven. They have no basis for the answer that's about to come out of their mouth. They'll just pull something out of their ass. But there have been whole sermons. There have been books written about whether or not your pet will go to heaven. And who draws the lines when it comes to family? Who draws those partitions? Exactly where does your immediate family end? Where does the next family begin? What happens if your family drove you crazy in this life? Do you really want to spend eternity with them, or is that actually hell? Do you really want to go? It'd be like moving home again. Hey, Mom, Dad, we're going to live together forever and ever and ever. Yeah, I'm sorry. You know what, God? Can I go to hell? I don't have an answer, but it's an interesting question, certainly. I'm already thinking.
Well, if you ever hear an answer, please share it on your show. I love your show, and I think you do a great job, and thanks for taking my call.
Thank you. That's a very interesting scenario. Thanks for calling the show. Take it easy.
You too. Bye-bye.
I had an email in from someone who wanted to be called Agent Fat Man. All right, your wish is my command. He said this: the other week, my wife tells me an interesting story. Her preacher was teaching on Sunday. What she told me, he said, was that in that time, becoming a slave was a step up. It was like a job for the jobless. Aha, the pastor's justifying slavery. We just spoke about this in the Unholy Trinity tour in Australia. Matt's got some great riffs on slavery in the Bible that you got to check out. Back to the letter. He said, you know what I told her and don't need me to explain. The main point I had to make was, so rape, murder, and invasion was a job interview? I had to end the conversation and not say everything I would have liked because she and I had a falling out a few weeks back. She saw my post on Facebook saying God may love you, but Satan accepts you. In response to that post on the Thinking Atheist Facebook page about the church sign saying Satan was the first to demand equal rights, that sentence led her to threatening to divorce me if I, quote, became a Satanist. Although the way that I and other people on my Facebook read it was that she called me a Satanist and was telling me to stop or she was out. I am an atheist. So, yeah. Well, I'm sorry you guys are on the outs. I don't get this connection between atheism and Satanism, and it happens all the time. Are you an atheist? Yes. So you worship the devil? No. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in any supernatural entities. Oh, you worship the devil. You're a Satanist. It's just this weird reflex. I think it's because they believe that anything that is not Christian or Christ-focused must then be the devil by default. There's a tiny box over here that's Jesus, and everything outside of that Jesus box is the work of Satan, so they just automatically take that leap. Kyle sent a message, said, I heard you were having sort of an Anything Goes podcast this week, and while I'm far too shy to ever call, I thought I'd send an email about one of my own experiences. I am from Canada. Thankfully, where I live, religion basically isn't ever mentioned. I've never had someone come up to the door proselytizing to me. The only time that's ever happened was when I was in the States. However, I'm in a band. I'm the bassist, not that that has any bearing on my story. And the bandmates, who are all otherwise intelligent, good people I've known for the majority of my life, are so deep into the land of woo that it makes me want to put my face through a wall sometimes. I'm not sure if you've ever come across the website whale.org. I believe that's the address at least. Well, let's just say that you're ever wanting a laugh with the incidental side effect of a pounding headache brought on by face-palming, go there. They're into astrology, tarot, metaphysical nonsense, you name it. A couple of them own organites, amulets, and pyramids. I'm going to come back to that, folks. Hang in there. Which they will go nowhere without. They seem to think they are doing everyone in their vicinity a good service by bringing them good, is it Oregon or Orgone energy? They've spent hundreds of dollars on these and zappers, along with other paraphernalia of that sort as well. I got into a debate with a couple of them recently wherein not only did one drop the Hitler grenade, but they also claimed there was no evidence that humans haven't evolved from, you guessed it, Sasquatch. No, I actually hadn't guessed that one. Kyle. We evolved from Sasquatch? These are great people, but sometimes this stuff just gets wearisome. Essentially, I was just wondering how you typically deal with people like this. I don't want to seem like an asshole, but I can't help but snicker when chakras are being talked about in a serious manner. What advice might you have for dealing with this level of woo? Thanks a lot in advance. I've been a big fan of the show for all of 2 months now, and I've already flown through over 100 episodes of your back catalog, not to mention videos and speeches on YouTube. Well, Kyle, I went ahead and took a look at the website. It's not whale.org. That is an ocean conservation website. But I found the site you were talking about. It's whale.to. Whale like the animal. WHALE.TO. And they cover all sorts of gems like vax autism, vax deaths, the AIDS racket, the Alzheimer's racket, oxygen therapy, urine therapy, allopathic genocide, medical mind control, human experiments, symbiology, chemtrails, Satanism, reptilians, earth energies, dowsing, and much, much more. I had to go check out the reptilians tab. So I went ahead and clicked on it, and this page came up, and the top graph says this, and I quote, "The source of all evil for a long time, essentially energy-robbing parasites, known symbolically as the all-seeing eye, and, wow, this is really poorly worded, and are the trickster pseudo-gods, like Baal and Lucifer, there's a few others, also known as the Archons, Jinn, or what Don Juan called the Flyers, also behind voodoo and possession. Whoa. Reptilian influence comes via Satanism, which they created. Which who created? The reptiles? And that controls Freemasonry. Most of the elite are possessed by reptilian shapeshifters and demons, or are actual reptilian hosts. The psychology of reptilians, what is that? It makes no sense. It's like somebody threw this stuff into a word scrambler. There is a reptilian repellent, my friends. It is organite, which Kyle mentioned earlier. The name organite was first coined by a guy named Carl Wells, according to the website, who possibly created the first basic orgone generator to describe a mixture of non-organic metal shavings and organic fiberglass resin materials, the combination of which produces orgone energy, possibly the same or similar to life force energy, chi or prana, which will eat deadly orgone radiation. I am not making this up. Apparently, cell phones, cell phone towers, a bunch of other devices give off DOR, deadly orgone radiation, and you need to apparently have this purged or be protected with this stuff called organite, this repellent. I don't know, the whole website is just horrible. The thing is really poorly designed anyway. It did give me about an hour of real entertainment, Kyle. They have a page just for chemtrails. Climate scientist blows whistle on jet aerosol dumps. This video excerpt makes it clear that climate scientists, geoengineers, and government agencies are fully aware that jet aircraft are dumping aerosols into the atmosphere with the effect of deliberate and covert climate manipulation. But even Dr. Kirby may not be aware that these aerosols contain much more than chemicals. For climate manipulation, bioengineered pathogens have been systematically sprayed on entire populations to infect the environment with a new biology of cross-domain organisms that manifest as Morgellon syndrome in man. Finally, the website claims that vitamin C will cure viral infections and make vaccinations completely unnecessary. So make sure you pop your vitamin C tabs. This is one of the weirdest websites I've seen in a long time. And it gave me a great idea, Kyle. I think we're going to have to do a show called The Weirdest Websites in the World. And I think I'm going to schedule that show for the end of April or the first part of May. And we're just going to have fun with it. The weirdest websites in the world. So make a few notes if you know of a couple and send them to me, podcast@thethinkingatheist.com. And I think we're going to have that show in a few weeks. Just too good an opportunity to pass up. Area code 850, you're on the Thinking Atheist radio podcast. Who's this?
Hey, this is Sarah.
Sarah, thanks for calling. What's going on?
There's a topic I found in my philosophy classes that I thought atheists should talk more about. I minor in philosophy, so I've been getting heavily into this. You know how a long time ago it used to be thought that the Earth was the center of the universe, and then Copernicus turned that around? I still think we are in the process of saying that humans are not the center of the biological world. I see in people a lot that they still think that humans are the top in the animal world. And I think the implications of Darwin's theory of evolution are still in their embryonic stage, if you will.
Where our sort of resources for knowledge have taken us past the ignorant belief that we were the center of the universe. We've sort of evolved past that. We've grown up past that. In many ways, we still believe we are the center of the biological universe. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we need to see past that. And I don't want to bash Descartes, René Descartes, but a lot of his ideas are responsible for this when he said that the mind is separate from the body. It is separate from nature. You are separate from nature. When Darwin was trying to show that you are a part of nature, you're not separated from it. So that philosophical change is still happening, but we're not done yet.
That's interesting. It's an interesting thought. I'll let everybody in the chat room here chew on it, okay?
Bye.
All right. Area code 864. You're on the Thinking Atheist radio podcast. Who's this?
Hi, Seth. This is Blake from Greenville, South Carolina.
Hey, I'm going to be out your way, I think, in the month of, is it September? I'm doing a run out in North and South Carolina over 3 or 4 days. So looking forward to that. What's going on?
Yeah, me and my friend Jake, who actually introduced me to your show, are actually going to be probably you're in Columbia, I think, or Myrtle Beach or Charlotte, one of those. We'll be there, probably 2 or 3 of them.
Awesome. Well, it'll be the same presentation in each city, so don't drive too far to be in multiple cities. It's going to be like listening to the same song over and over and over again. But it'll be fresh for the local audiences that are part of that. You got me curious. Let me take a real fast look and see. We're going to be in Winston-Salem, that's September 18th, followed by Charlotte, Myrtle Beach, Columbia, and Charleston. So all that's on the thinkingatheist.com events page. What do you have for us tonight? What's up?
Well, I was wanting to ask you, I'm a recent deconvert, I guess, from Christianity, thanks to you. So thanks for opening my mind, essentially.
Oh, wow.
But what I wanted to ask you is, ever since I become an atheist, yeah, life is just a lot better. I embrace the little things a lot more. And, you realize that life, this is the only chance you have. Don't waste time. Don't waste a day. I appreciate everything around you. So, thanks for helping me realize that. But what I wanted to ask you was, what do you think is the best way, like in a casual conversation with a friend, in order to try to get them to open their minds a little bit? Because, I'm still surrounded by Christians.
I get this question a lot. It usually is framed in the form of, I'm surrounded by religious people. How can I change their minds? How can I get them to see reason? And I don't think it's nearly that simple. You're not just talking about the facts. You're not just talking about data. You're talking about a belief system that is deeply, in many cases, deeply woven into the identity of the person that you're speaking about. It's like insulting their deity, insulting their beloved religion would be like insulting one of their children or one of their loved ones. And so if you accost them, if you browbeat them, they just double down emotionally on whatever it is that they've cherished, and they build the walls even higher and stronger, and they're even harder to get to. What I have found most effective is really kind of a 1-2 punch. I agree with Dr. Ryan Cragen that you have to change social circles in order to impact attitudes about non-belief, meaning that it's easy for religious people to treat atheists in caricature, to vilify them, to not understand them if they are way over here. But if they have atheists loud and proud in their circle, if they are friends with atheists, if they play sports with atheists or go to the movies or have dinner and chill out, spend evenings together, then it's harder because they don't see a one-dimensional sort of a caricature of what they think an atheist is. They see a wonderful person that they love and trust, and then they have to reconcile, hey, wait a minute, they don't go to church, they don't believe in God, they don't do any of the stuff that I do, and yet they're still awesome. I think that is a great starting point. The second thing is, if you're getting into discussions, I'm a huge believer in the Socratic method, where it's all about questions. You don't walk in and you say, look, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, kind of thing. You, in the right environment, at the right time, for the right reasons, you're able to say, look, I've got some questions, and I was wondering if maybe you could help me understand. And I don't mean this, and I'm not trying to attack you. I'm genuinely curious. I really do want to make sure I'm living a truthful life. Can you help me understand what your perspective is on this? And then you can begin to ask and challenge specific tenets of their belief system, whether it's a story from the Bible or something that you have a difficult time reconciling when you see how they live their lives. They will become frustrated, but they won't feel as attacked. And I honestly think that when that conversation is over, days, weeks, even months after the fact, they may still be thinking about the stuff you were asking about. That's sort of my tactic. I've had a few instances when I've marched up to somebody and I've just been full tilt. This is stupid. This is the most idiotic. It's time for you to outgrow this. Put away childish things. It's time to evolve, man. And I've never had success with it. It just closed off doors. People resented me. I resented them. No minds were ever changed. I'm not saying there aren't times to do battle, but I really think a softer approach in many instances is a better approach. We're playing chess, not checkers, is how I always like to sort of frame it. Does that answer your question at all?
That does, absolutely. I've noticed that's actually what happened with me. I started dating a girl who was an atheist, and my best friend, he was an atheist. He's sitting right beside me. But I think he has a funny story for you. But, once I got around people who were free thinkers, I started to kind of notice, what it was like to actually approach something open-minded rather than just accepting what you hear. So, for anyone else that's listening, just get your friends to come hang out with you. Go to a bar, have a drink, shoot some pool, whatever.
I didn't know of any atheists. I didn't have any atheists in my circle that I knew about. How much can I know about the world if I don't know anybody who disagrees with me, right? Or I'm not really wired in very much with people who how challenged have I been in my life? And when I saw other people challenge religious belief without fear, in many ways it emboldened me to start asking the harder questions and not be satisfied with the pat answer of, you got to have faith. I said, no, you don't get away with that. I want to know for real what the answer is to these questions. And the more I asked, the more bold I got, the more questions I asked. And it took me, 18 months of going through that gauntlet, but I finally ended up sort of liberated from those chains. So I wish you the best in your own circle. I think just live a loud, proud, happy, secular life in full view of other people. My hope is eventually, if they go through kind of a critical time in their life, they'll come to you with questions, man.
Awesome. Thanks, Seth.
Hey, thanks so much for listening, and thanks for the kind words. Much appreciated.
Hey, Seth, this is Jake.
Hey, what's up, Jake?
Well, first I wanted to wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
I recently had a discussion with my grandmother, and she's been calling my mom all the time, saying, Jake's posting all this atheist stuff on Facebook and all that. And, she came down one weekend, and I just sat down with her just to have a discussion, and it was very civil and everything, but she kept repeating, the devil's got you. He's got you by the neck, and you don't know it, but he's got you. And I'm like, I don't believe in the devil. And she's like, really?
Well, it's kind of hard for her generation, too. I mean, they were you go to church on Sunday, and when you get out, you go to Sunday brunch at your favorite restaurant. And, they did it as much out of tradition, out of habit, I think, as anything else. And the idea of being a non-believer to them is, it's just crazy. It's like trying to live without oxygen. How can you not believe in God and go to church? It just doesn't make any sense. So it's probably hard for her to process it.
Yeah, I was telling her about science and everything, and at one point she was just like, I just don't know about that science stuff. I'm just not sure about that. I was like, oh my God.
I'm just not sure about all that science stuff. Yeah. Actually, I hear that argument from a lot of people who aren't elderly. From a lot of apologists. I'm just not sure about all that science stuff.
I had somebody tell me, they said, they pay off all them science people say all that. And then, I just
And the same time they're telling me that science is a load of crap, they're telling me on a cell phone that was developed by science, or they've driven over to meet me for lunch in a car that was developed by science, eating foods that were sort of developed by, D.P.R. Jones once said that if you're going to say that science is bullshit, you're going to have to then make a commitment to reject everything in your life that science has provided, and then let me know how that works out for you. So I do hope you and your grandma are having at least some kind of a good relationship. I don't think you'll ever change your mind. That should never be your goal. Just be as good a grandson as you can, love her as much as you can, and hopefully the storm will pass, okay?
All right, man. Thanks, Seth.
Take it easy. See you later. I don't go after my parents to try to change their mind. The arguments I've made in relation to them have been response arguments. If they come at me with I've heard it all. I've heard the end times and the rise of Israel and the Josephus argument, the personal experience, the near death, prophecy fulfilled. I mean, I just one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other. And I'll send a response or a rebuttal because that challenge was presented to me. But I'm not on the offense with mom and dad and over there banging on their door going, change your mind, people. You're all incorrect on the facts. Because in my mind, I'm convinced that in many, many, many of their cases, their desire to believe is simply greater than their desire to know. Well, as long as your desire to believe is greater, you are not going to receive information. You're only sending, you're not receiving. I'm just wasting my time. I don't know about you, but I'm not a fan of having my time wasted. I'm going to go out and have the argument where I can be more effective. And so if they want to, embrace a religious belief, knock yourself out, I'm going to go over here and have the larger conversation in a larger sort of an arena, because I know there are some people out there who do have a greater desire to know than they do to believe. And that's liberating when you come to that point. I'd rather know than believe. I'd rather have knowledge than faith. It's like that poster or bumper sticker. It's called faith because it's not knowledge. I don't want faith. I want to know. That's where I've come in my particular life and my own journey. I had an email in from Stacy who said, I was super excited about a random podcast where I could potentially tell you this story because I can't really think of another topic that the story would fit in well with. I thought you'd get a kick out of it as I found it funny at the time, and it still makes me chuckle whenever I think about it. I was raised in a devout Mormon household in Salt Lake City. While growing up in this church, I had a very hard time with the Bible and its awful stories where God comes off as petty and unfair. As a result, I started to withdraw from everyone and everything religious, but I still made appearances and did other churchy things to please my parents. This included going to Brigham Young University. You don't have to be a Mormon to attend, but you do have to abide by a strict set of rules from the Mormon Church. I absolutely hated every minute of my time spent there for many reasons, but mostly it was because I was treated awful. Because I wasn't a good enough person. My major sins were watching PG-13 and R-rated movies, and with being a whore, because in a single semester I had 2 male friends come visit me, when in reality I was still a virgin. Near the end of my 1.5 years of attendance there, I was asked out on a blind date by a friend of a friend. He took me to a dance that the college was hosting. Wait, they danced at Brigham Young? He took me to a dance that the college was hosting. It was no different than a high school dance, keeping a Bible and Book of Mormon's width between you. Is that a joke, Stacy? I soon found I really didn't like the guy. He was strange, said weird things, and generally rubbed me the wrong way, so I decided to mess with him. I took him aside and I said, I'm a Catholic, right? His face turned white as a sheet, and he mumbled something about not knowing that, and he went silent for the rest of the night, not dancing, not talking, nothing. This was fine by me. I was counting down the minutes till I could go home anyway. When the silent evening was over, he walked me up to the front door of my apartment and mumbled good night and turned to leave. Right then, a thought occurred to me, and I decided to experiment a little bit, so I called after him, "Wait! I'm sorry, I feel bad. I want to tell you that I'm not really a Catholic. I'm a compulsive liar." His face instantly brightened, and a big smile spread across his face from ear to ear. "Oh, that's wonderful," he exclaimed. And he started to pratter on about how he wanted to take me out again, seeing as how I was only a liar and not a Catholic. I never saw him again, and after that semester, I never went back to that school. I instead transferred and graduated from the secular devil's school, the University of Utah. This event has always struck a chord with me because it all seems so surreal. I've never understood how many Christians are hateful and fearful of other Christian religions and viewpoints, and how associating with a liar is preferable to associating with a Catholic or other religion. This has never been the case with me, and I've always been fascinated with other religious viewpoints, and I study them quite often. I gotta say, I just don't understand the mentality. Seth, I wanted to thank you for everything you do. It's meant a lot to me in my journey out of religion, knowing I'm not alone and that others are, and will make the same journey with me. Stacy, you're absolutely not alone. I know all of us are sort of searching for truth anew every single day. But, you're right about how tribalistic religions, we're all tribalistic about certain things in certain ways. We're just evolved in many ways to knee-jerk in that direction. But I remember in the church, you're a Baptist. Oh, yeah, I'm a Pentecostal. Oh, you're a Pentecostal. I'm a Lutheran. Oh, you're a Catholic. I'm a Presbyterian. Just one after the everybody's busy sort of carving themselves into these little tribes where you're right and everybody else is deceived. Oh, they don't believe in speaking in tongues. Oh, they do believe in speaking in tongues. Oh, they don't believe in a literal hell. Oh, they do believe in a literal hell. They don't do it this way, and they are deceived. It's kind of a way for us to feel better than them, even though we're all sort of doing the same kind of dance. Go figure. Let's go back to the switchboard again and talk to area code 412. You're on the Thinking Atheist Radio podcast. Who's this?
Hi, Seth. It's Diana.
Diana, thanks for calling. What's going on?
I was curious about a couple things. Number one, maybe about a month or so ago, I saw a couple of articles dealing with Pope Francis. The first one, he was in Spain, hugging a trans man, hey, you're all great and everything. And maybe 3 weeks later, he comes out with a statement that we're like nuclear weapons. And I'm thinking to myself, wait, sir, will the real Pope Francis please stand up? Do you have a take on this?
This is going to sound completely self-serving, Diana.
Okay.
But I have
I'll live with that.
A whole chapter in my new book dedicated to Pope Francis.
Which I do want to get.
No, honestly, I'm not saying it for that reason, but it's funny that you brought it up because his almost schizophrenic behavior over the past 6-9 months prompted a chapter in the book. It's the third chapter. It's called Blowing Smoke, and it talks a lot about the Pope's selection process, and it talks about Francis himself and how many people like me were at some point going, hey, this guy seems not bad. This guy seems like he's a little more progressive. He's saying some kind things about atheists. And he went and said that he thought that divorcees should be able to take communion. And he thought that non-heterosexuals might have a place of service within the church. Of course, once he says these types of things, then a shit ton of bishops go crazy. And then they have to all huddle in a back room and come forward and correct him. And then he has to sort of issue a retraction kind of thing.
Yeah.
But for a while, I thought, hey, he seems kind of nice. He seems kind of progressive. If you have to have a pope, he'll do. And then after the turn of the year, especially, Francis just seems to have just lost his freaking mind. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Being a trans woman myself, I took umbrage to this immediately. As you, for about 5 minutes, I thought, hey, this might be a fairly decent guy. Then all of a sudden, he turns on us. What are you doing?
I was reading the article that posted yesterday, was it yesterday in the Telegraph, that what they're calling the Pope Francis effect has led to a boom in exorcisms all around the world. So Francis comes forward and he's endorsing exorcism, which is something that we thought was being relegated to the history books. It's something that they sort of swept under the rug. Oh, exorcisms. The Catholic Church is walking away from that, just like they walked away from creationism and some other things, because the church is supposedly becoming more progressive. And then Francis comes out and talks about how exorcisms are necessary. I don't even remember the exact quote, but he becomes a promoter of it in the 21st century in the year 2015. And because of that, there's a phenomenon called the Pope Francis effect, where people are actually clamoring all around the planet for more exorcisms to get rid of those icky demons. It just boggles the mind.
Wasn't his predecessor also exorcism happy, Benedict?
It's possible, but I don't remember that about Benedict.
I could easily be wrong. I'd have to look back on it.
It's just such a tragic thing when you see it. Many times these are abusive situations where you've got someone who may be mentally ill or something else. What was that story that was in Yahoo News? Texas woman helped starve boy to rid him of a demon. The byline is Dallas, Texas. Authorities say a woman who operated a church in her Dallas area home helped starve a 2-year-old boy to rid him of a demon, and then she held a ceremony to try to revive him. And so when people start dealing with demon possession, it's a punchline. It's funny when you and I are talking about it on its surface, but quite often the people most affected in these scenarios are those who are the most vulnerable or who may really need the most help, and they are often the ones who pay the biggest price. It's just tragic. So I don't know. I've lost, if you'll forgive the phrasing, I've lost faith in Francis. And so
I understand. I understand very, very well. If there's time, one more thing I'm wondering. I come from a Roman Catholic tradition. I like to say that my parental units raised my late sister and myself Roman Catholic. She found Jesus, I found Carl Sagan. But the parents and much of the other family didn't seem to believe anything as far as the Catholic theology was concerned. They wore it as a badge. Have you experienced anything like that in your upbringing where the people really didn't believe or even know about any of this? They just said it's us versus them?
You just described religion in the United States in the 21st century. Think of the people who go to church on Sunday. You drive by all of these parking lots that are filled with cars and ask any one of them to name even 5 of the 10 commandments. Ask them to name any of the major events or characters in the scriptures that they say is true. Ask them if they were in a horrible car accident, if they would drop to their knees first and pray for healing, or if they would dial 911 and call a paramedic, right? You're talking about cultural believers. And they go, they sit in the seat, they enjoy an hour, hour and a half of communal music and messages. They feel good about themselves, not knowing really anything about the basic tenets of their religion. And then they go off and live their lives largely as secular individuals. They give religion lip service, but they don't really, if they were to be honest with themselves, they don't really know it or believe it. Catholicism is the poster child for this kind of thinking, right? The Catholic Church doesn't even encourage its congregants to even open a Bible. Oh, let us read it for you. Let us do the thinking and the praying for you. You guys just come here. We'll blow some smoke. We'll take some communion. We'll call it good, right? And then you can go off to your beer and bingo. Have fun.
Oh, I definitely remember that.
Yeah. And honestly, who has all the power? In that scenario, who has the power? It's the people who are claiming to be the authorities from the pulpit, the people who are saying that they have God's ear and God has theirs, and they are the conduit for all this spiritual energy into the lives of the people in the pews and the seats, and everybody's just happy to be spoon-fed the truth with a capital T. It's tragic. And if people would start doing some of their own homework instead of their own digging and actually begin to live the faith they believe, quote unquote believe, I have a feeling there would be a lot fewer believers. Diane, thanks so much for the call. A great one. And thanks so much for listening to the broadcast. It means a bunch.
Thank you, Seth.
Take care. I love talking about the Pope. He's just so ripe for discussion. He's just so good. Tony said this: I just got back from the 2015 American Atheist Convention in Memphis, so I thought it'd be great to banter about that experience. Fantastic conference, though my favorite part was hanging out playing acoustic guitar in the hotel lobby until midnight with Matt Dillahunty. Awesome. Another guy brought harmonicas and we just jammed, sang, and had a grand time. It was a ton of fun. Anyway, I have an idea on how to actively recruit more conservative atheists to the movement, which I'm in the process of working on at the moment. Basically, my idea came about as a result of seeing the American Atheist Official Convention weapons policy and how actively restrictive it was towards even concealed carry holders. Oh, man, here we go. Just get ready for the comment section, man, because it's going to go crazy. I noticed this in the convention program while listening to a speaker with a Glock by my side. Oops. Anyway, Dave Silverman's opening speech talked about how important recruiting new folks and members is, and how the conservative atheist market is substantial and ripe for recruitment. As I see it, conservatives tend to value abortion, religion, and the Second Amendment highly, but not always equally. I know plenty of conservative-ish atheists who think of groups such as AA and others as typical liberal idiots and refuse to associate in part because of such policies as the weapons policy. Conversely, I know and talked with several self-described gun-toting liberals who also despise such policies. Imagine the nation's reaction if David went on the cable networks and said something to the effect of, "Welcome, conservative atheists and concealed carry permit holders. We value you and invite you to carry responsibly at our convention." The extreme right NRA and the Duck Dynasty monopoly would choke. We simply can't work toward a significant percentage in this country, the magical 51%, without extending goodwill toward these folks. I write because I know you're a fellow conceal and carry holder and have some insight. Well, I'm not too interested in what the NRA and Duck Dynasty has to say or what they think about me. I can only speak about the decision that I've made in my own life as a conceal and carry permit holder. And I wrote a blog that I put on my Facebook page called In My Own Defense, which essentially lays out why in my own life, for my own reasons, I have decided to be a concealed carry permit holder and to have a licensed firearm in my home. But I do it under extremely strict guidelines and circumstances. I'm trained to use it. I maintain that training. I practice with it. I keep it locked up in a safe for which only I have the combination, a quick release safe which no one else can access. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's so many variables to that, and that's just me. In my specific situation, for my reasons, I have decided, yes, I will do this in my own life. But I also know that many people have different perspectives and take a different stance on the issue for very valid and legitimate reasons. And I'm not necessarily ready to open up the convention circuit and put a sign up that says, hey, bring a weapon, everybody's welcome. Well, I'm more interested in the mentality and the mindset of the people who are coming. Somebody who wants to attend the convention and who would be attracted to an atheist event would not be hindered by a firearms policy. They're going to come because they have the attitude of wanting to be there, because they're going to enjoy the speakers and enjoy the attendees and enjoy the music and enjoy spending time with fellow free thinkers. And because they are law abiding, they will abide by the guidelines and the laws in place, and they will, they're going to do the right thing, and they'll still go and have an awesome time. So I don't think welcoming conceal and carry holders and being public about it are problems. I think there are discussions about the merits of firearm ownership and use, what is and isn't appropriate. These are very complicated issues and discussions that need to be had out there on a much larger scale. And I think once the larger conversations are had, we can get down to the nitty gritty, some of the smaller stuff. Area code 520, you're on the Thinking Atheist Radio podcast. Who's this?
Hey, this is Dominic in Arizona.
What's going on?
Oh, not a whole lot. Happy birthday from what I've heard.
Thank you very much. A couple of days ago, yeah. Thank you.
I'd like to say that I've been listening to your podcast for a few months now, listening to all your old ones, almost all of them, I think. And I got to say, my favorite one was your 3 a.m. rant, not too long ago, your coexist rant.
God, what is it about that show? I posted it a couple of weeks ago. I had been unable to sleep, still jet lagged after Australia, got up feeling kind of cranky, ranted for 45 minutes, posted the audio, and I'm getting email from all over the world, and people are saying it's their favorite show. And you felt the same, huh?
I did, yeah, because, see, I listened to your podcast during my 12-hour night shift as a security guard, so I've got all the time in the world, and it's just good to hear you get out pretty much everything that I'm thinking, and I think everyone else probably feels the same way, because I don't have enough atheist friends to just rant like that, too. So
yeah.
It's good to listen to, know someone else is thinking the same way.
I have my moments of frustration. I'm not what they would call a firebrand, but I am passionate about rationalism, about fighting irrational ideas and the damage religion does. And I just get sick and tired of being the person who is expected to disprove every piece of bullshit somebody brings to the table. It just makes me nuts.
I had an idea about that. Next time somebody says, prove God doesn't exist, it's like, all right, I'm the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. And if they say, prove it, and tell them you don't have to.
Great idea. Thanks for calling the show, man. Much appreciated.
All right. Thanks a lot. Great to be on it.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.
Let's see. 662, you're on the Thinking Atheist Radio podcast. Who's this?
This is John from Tennessee.
Hey, what's going on?
I live in nearly the Bible Belt, but it's really not as bad as people think it is, to be honest. To me, I guess it depends on which state you're in, but born in the deep south of Mississippi, and we moved up to Tennessee, and by no means are people the same whatsoever. And I just hate it when people paint Southerners into this corner. They paint this picture that's just misrepresented completely. I mean, there may be a lot of people who hold certain viewpoints, so, that are Republican, heavily red, but there's actually a very high amount of people that's starting to overtake those amount of people in the red states. I mean, there's more Democratic voters than there are Republican. It's starting to pick up more steam than it used to.
I think Matt Dillahunty said that about Austin, Texas being a hugely conservative state in many ways, but there are pockets of people who are sort of going against the flow and thinking for themselves. And I'm sure that's the case in places. I mean, I don't know if it's the case in Oklahoma. If I walked out with an atheist sign or banner and I stood on the corner, I give myself about 6 minutes until I'm hit in the head with a beer can. Or somebody pops the car door open as they blow by at 60 miles an hour. I'm just saying I wouldn't feel safe. So are you telling me that in the state of Tennessee, you think you could go out and be a public, loud, proud atheist?
Absolutely not. No, by no means.
Okay.
But it's starting to pick up more steam because I came out as an atheist a year ago. And it kind of made a few people fidget, but I think about half of the school was kind of expecting it.
Because you had always been a skeptic? Because you'd always been sort of the fly in the ointment, or what?
Yeah, it's just something of that nature, but I don't quite know what it was. But half of them were like, all right. And then the other half were like,
I'll pray for you.
Yeah.
That's what most people do. And they usually do it when they're walking in the other direction. They'll go, I'll pray for you. And then they're actually physically moving away because they don't necessarily they're not interested in a conversation and dialogue. They're not going to say, hey, you're a smart guy. Tell me how you came to this conclusion. Tell me why you don't believe. They just say, I'll pray for you. And then they find the door,
Actually, I've had quite the opposite experience with a lot of people. Now, mind you, I have had that I will pray for you, and me mentally, that's just them flipping me off. That's it, I can just envision them giving me the bird and just walking away.
They flip you off in the name of Jesus?
No, I'm just saying that phrase. Well, I've had one person do that, but that's beside the point. I've had that phrase, like, I'll pray for you. That almost gives you the envisionment of them just flipping you off and walking away.
Well, if you've got people interested in discourse and who want to understand, who want to at least have the conversation, then yeah, that may be a wonderful sign for the state of Tennessee. You bet.
It is. I've actually, this is kind of the ironic thing. My girlfriend's grandmother was recently, this was a few years back, she was a part of the Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'm not trying to give away really personal details about that anyway, but the main point of it was that she was borderline atheist for years. And we had a discussion. We talked for about 3 to 4 hours, and that was the final straw for her. So that's just one of the many people I've actually gotten to, for a small portion, deconvert in the state of Tennessee.
That's an encouraging way to end the show, man. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad you called and sort of shared that with the audience. That's terrific stuff.
I thank you for the show. It's very entertaining.
Much appreciated, John.
I'm always playing video games, and I'll have your show running in the background all the time. I'm
the soundtrack for, what are you playing, may I ask?
I was playing Skyrim.
I'm the soundtrack for, what... All right. Well, I got Angry Birds, so between you and
I'll leave you to that. Sometimes I wish I could just play that because
the adrenaline rush it's difficult really to put into words. Yeah, John, I appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for listening, and have a wonderful night. All right.
You too. Thank you.
Coming up in a few days, I'm going to post the audio of the 3 speeches and one of the Q&A sessions from the Unholy Trinity Down Under tour from Australia. The video's going online in just a few days, and the audio will air in podcast form looks like over the weekend and into the first of next week. We'll do one a day, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then Tuesday will be the Q&A. So 3 speeches and a Q&A, 4 elements from that tour will become radio shows coming up here in the next several days, and I hope you enjoy those. We certainly enjoyed doing the tour. The show's over. It means it's time to get free snacks at your door from Nature Box with over 100 options to choose from. Get the bold flavors you crave and feel smarter about snacking. Go to naturebox.com/thinkingatheist to start your free trial. naturebox.com/thinkingatheist. And I will see you next week.
Follow The Thinking Atheist on Facebook and Twitter. Watch dozens of original videos on the Thinking Atheist YouTube channel. And visit our website for resources, links, contact information, the editor's blog, and more. thethinkingatheist.com.